Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Inspire Millions. This is Kane Sirota Novak. I am here today with Brooke, Tera-Sundri.
You never get that
Sundri. I always get it stuffed. Brooke Tera-Sundri. How do you pronounce the last one?
Tera-Sundri.
Tera-Sundri. Tera-Sundri.
Tera-Sundri.
Tera-Sundri. There we go. Got it right. We're working on the spur of the moment here. It's been an intense week for me. I've just been getting my own balance back. So, hey, Brooke, how you going?
I'm really well, thanks, Kane. Great to be
Brilliant.
here. It's always fun to be talking with you.
Ah, that's so sweet of you. Thank you. So you have an incredible story, empowering story, and there are so many different levels to this. And it's not just about cancer, but it's all the things that you did to get to the position that you were, then get cancer, and then get through cancer to be talking with me today. And
can I say something, just to throw something in there?
Yes, of course.
The important point here is that we did it without any interaction with Western medicine.
Would you like to say that again?
It was done without any interaction with Western medicine. And I think that's a really important point here.
That is hugely important. That is one of the most, it's such a powerful aspect in knowing that the world around us is surrounded by energy. Like, we're all energy, right? And when you take on board other people's stuff, when you create your own problems within your own mind, your mind creates anything that it wants. And the body can only keep up so much with the power of the mind. So if you're holding on to stuff, not letting stuff go, if you're creating blocks within your own anatomy, within your own pressure points within your system, you will have problems. It's not a maybe, it's not a oh yeah, it is a fact. It creates energetic problems, and those energetic problems turn into bigger problems, which then manifest into things like cancer, tumors, your cysts that then can turn into tumors, things like that. And it's all relative to the thoughts and the emotions. And the emotions, when we have memories, we have emotions connected to those memories. So those memories, even though they're inside us and they're part of our story and part of our history, those memories can be vitally damaging to us unless we allow them to release, unless we allow them to let go, unless we work our way through them, through our mental mess, through the issues that we have, and change the perspective, let go of the original emotion that's connected to that memory and shift it into a different perspective, a different understanding, a different learning, a different tool that we can teach to empower us, not to slow us down, not to disable us in some sort of facet. Does that kind of round it up for you, Brooke?
Very much so, very much so. The thoughts that we have are often, and our emotion connected to it, are often connected to our pain body, right? The emotions are real, but they're a result of our thoughts, and our thoughts change depending on our perspective. Yeah, I mean, you can have two people witness the same thing with different perspectives on what happened. And that's because it's all relative to our previous experience, our emotions connected to that previous experience, and our pain body, and it's feeding into our pain body. Yeah, so, yeah, no, you put that really, really well. Beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah,
now,
I guess, yeah, go ahead.
I've got a little visitor because my oldest son, Casper, has COVID at the moment. And he's in lockdown. We all had to go in lockdown because we were all hanging out with each other. So Rafferty's here too. Rafferty, did you want to come and say hi?
Hey, Raf.
Yeah, pop your head up a little higher. Pop your head up a little higher. There it is.
Can't see you, buddy.
He's trying to be really patient while Brooke and I have this beautiful conversation. Now, do you need anything at the moment, Raph?
Yes.
What do you need? Because we are live on YouTube. There could be millions of people watching right now. You're a star right now. Here we go. See, he just likes the limelight, I think. What is it? Yes.
Wonder where he gets that.
What is the HD one on the TV?
Oh, on top of the control, it's the top button on the right-hand side.
Is this light?
Yeah, so, yeah.
Is this light? Okay, I'll
Yeah,
go.
slide. Close the door. Great, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was my younger son, Rafferty Novak. Boom, he is a delight. So, Brooke, let's just go. Let's go with a little bit about you first before we get to where we need to get to. Now, you're an incredible woman in the aspect of you're into gosh, I just had a mental blank. So you're a nutritionist, you're a naturopath, you're also a fertility expert. You traveled the world creating clinics for some wonderful famous people. Dare you say who they are? I'm probably tied to that you can't. But tell me a little bit about that journey, because that's an extraordinary journey in itself, right? Traveling the world, opening up fertility clinics, and then dealing with some of the most famous people in the world, some very powerful people, to be able to help them. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I need to be clear though, they weren't fertility clinics we were setting up, they were health retreats, so broader spectrum. My area of specialty when I studied was fertility, and obviously I incorporate that in every aspect, and that, to be honest, that's what's led me to where I am today. Because when you're dealing with fertility, you're talking a lot with people obviously about their sex and their sex lives, their sex habits, their menstruation, what have you, their hormones. And so you get involved in the nitty-gritty. And as a result of that, and living through in Asian countries where I learnt about Kundalini and Taoism and Tantra, that sort of all led me to the understanding, I guess, of our needs as intimate beings. And that's why I now deal with empowering women through their sexuality. It's not all about sex. I mean, obviously that's the fun part, but it's really about connecting with who we are at a deeper level. And that's we're intimate beings, and as women, we're creative beings. The feminine within us all is our creativity, and it's behind our creativity. I mean, we're designed to create life. So that's where our feminine comes in, and we draw upon that creation. But obviously, in order to create life, we need to have sex. So, it's all interconnected. It's all very important. And we are therefore designed as sexual beings and as intimate beings. And if we understand that properly, it not only enhances all of our relationships, not just our sexual relationships, but all relationships. It not only enhances those, it enhances our sexual life. It enhances our ability to use that as part of our evolution and our spiritual journey as well. So that hasn't really answered your question at all, but that's how I ended up where I'm at now and doing what I'm doing now. So it was just amazing. I've just followed my passion. I followed my heart through my whole life. So my passion's always been health, wellness. It started off a lot more westernized and evolved as I evolved and as I traveled and learned about other cultures and what have you. Then my passion and my love and my approach to health, women's health and well-being, grew in the same direction and became a lot more holistic, and it has a lot greater Eastern influence.
And what would be, you were also writing was it a weekly blog for one of the
No,
magazines?
so I wrote for Elle Magazine,
Elle Magazine.
which, yeah. I actually wrote for Elle Magazine in India, who have the greatest readership of any Elle Magazine. So it's a big flash glossy mag. And I was a feature writer for them. So I would write big 6-page spreads on women's health issues. Yeah. So that was really fun as well. I have done smaller, I've written for a few newspapers, been a columnist, and written a book as well, best-selling book, which my focus there was about intimacy and intimacy beyond the bedroom. So the different forms that intimacy can take and the different needs we have for intimate connections.
And this is really important. I find this is one of the most integral parts of our society is intimate relationships. And it's not just about, people think that, so many people think that when you mention the word intimate, that suddenly it's a sexual relationship, but it's not, because you can have an intimate relationship with your children. It's allowing yourself to be really open, really honest, really vulnerable, really authentic in your own connection with yourself, to be able to share that with the person, being present. That presence, intimacy, the height of sexuality can only be brought in if you're present. If you're not present, if you're living in the past while you're in the motion, or living in the future while you're in the motion, you're not going to have much fun. Let's just be clear. It's just not going to be as intense, right? The beauty is the presence, and allowing yourself to really be connected to yourself and to that other person, whether it's a sexual relationship or if it's an intimate relationship with your children or with your mother or with your father or with a friend, but allowing yourself to be free, allowing your soul to be free, allowing your ability to connect with that person and listen to them, because it's not just about the talking, it's about the listening and really listening. And that's really key. And tell me, Brooke, just on the notion of that element, can you give me an example that people would come to you with having that challenge in themselves, and something, a tool that you can actually give them?
Yeah, so people don't, I guess they're not aware when they come to me that the challenge is, becoming intimate. It's a journey, shall we say. And the tools that I use take them through this, and we start with connecting with themselves. People think, I came to you to, have great sex or whatever. And it's like, why are we focusing on all this inner work on myself? And it's because we need to connect, firstly, intimately with ourselves. Once we understand who we are and how to connect intimately with ourselves and what our intimate needs are, then we can work on the other connections. And it's not just our intimate relationships with our close ones, our close loved ones, but at work or whatever, because then we start to understand that every person we interact with is a relationship of some sort. And we can determine what sort of connection we create with that person and how we can communicate with them. So it helps people even in the workplace to be better leaders, to have better connections with their colleagues, what have you, yeah? Because they're starting to have an understanding of people at an intimate level, which is people, as you said, as their authentic selves, right? Their real true selves. And so even if that person isn't ready to be their authentic self, we then, or my clients then gain an understanding of them from their authenticity. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So the tools I use, like I said before, are they stem from Kundalini, Taoism, and Tantra. There's a whole plethora of tools. Obviously, my naturopathy is incorporated in there as well. So, yeah, it's really just empowering as a whole.
And one of the I guess there's, for the last 2 years, it's been a really tough journey around the world, right? There's been a lot of segregation. There's been a lot of confusion. There's been misrepresentation. There's been misunderstanding. Families have split up over certain conversations. And relationships, you know, personal relationships, intimate relationships with a partner, whether it be male or female. There's been certain challenges that's been forced upon people. How do you bring that back? How do you bring the intimacy back into something that had been so pressurized? Or not even bring it back. How do you balance the ability to maintain intimacy whilst dealing with not just immediate family problems and pressures of having to do this or do this against your will and keep a job or get a new job or get a job where you don't have a certain something that the government is forcing upon you, or you're running a business and you're taking in, like I said earlier, you know, you take on other people's problems. How do you bring the intimacy or maintain that intimacy so you can rest, release, and relax with the one that you love?
That's an awesome question. I guess, and it's really relevant. It's so relevant because I have to say these last 2 years, or probably the last 18 months, once the pressure started building up for people, my phone lines, by phone lines, I mostly probably mean messenger and text, but even people turning up on my doorstep, you know, they've been flat out because the pressure is building up and people's mental health is suffering. And the truth is, when we connect with ourselves on an intimate level, our perspective towards all of that is very different, and our connection to those people is different. So it's learning to connect first with yourself on an intimate level so that perspective changes. Yeah, it's not an overnight thing. I can't go, oh, here, we'll do this and it will change. But I can say, okay, well, let's start you on the journey to understand yourself more. Therefore, you're understanding. So like I said before, it impacts our communication as a whole. So that's even our listening, our understanding, our perception of things, as well as our reaction to things. Yeah. So learning how to connect and understand ourselves at the core of who we really are will change our perception and our reaction towards events around us, as well as towards people around us. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So the tools that we use and the practices that we use will actually alter that so that it gives you tools to cope, I guess. It changes the way you cope, and it gives you a toolbox with which to cope. So therefore, the pressures and the stresses are reduced or altered. They're just different. They don't have the same impact on your body. Now, excuse me, here's the interesting thing. We are all excuse me, we are all exposed to stresses and pressures throughout life. Doesn't matter how well we learn to respond to or to react to, they'll still be thrown at us. Sometimes it's just out of our control. A lot of the time it's actually within us. We've invited these things in. But most, and that's most of the time. But sometimes, as with what's been going on globally, it's more out of our control. But what is still in our control is how much we choose to take on and how we respond to that. Yeah. And the development of disease, you brought this back before, this can trigger, the stuff going on around us can trigger things within us that we're not even aware of. Because memories, as you said, memories are held within us, but they're also passed down from our ancestors. Because they're held within us, they become part of our genetic blueprints and they're passed down. So we can be triggering memories or emotions within us that aren't even ours. Yeah. Mm. But our body doesn't know this. It doesn't know we haven't lived this event before.
Now, hang on. I just want to make this a little clearer for some people. So, because some people are going to go, what do you mean I've got memories from my ancestors? What does that even mean, right? But let's give an example of a dog, right? Dogs have different breeds of dogs have different innate personalities and have different particular instincts. And that's bred down through their genetic structure, and that's coming from their ancestors. Well, humans are a little bit the same. Am I right, Brooke?
Very much so. very much so. Everything that happens in and on, we're more than just a physical body, right? In fact, you said it before, it's all energy, right? This will blow your mind. Because we're such a physical being and we're so connected to ourselves on a physical level, and you know, we can see, touch, feel, smell, taste our physical selves, but we're actually more energy than we are physical matter. There is more space between all of our cells, yeah, where that energy exists. So the essence of who we are is actually just in space. It's just energy, yeah. But within that physical matter itself, there's a blueprint. And we all know this. Everybody's aware that we have a genetic blueprint that, you know, when we recreate and create human life, that blueprint is passed on. Well, the energetic stuff lives in that blueprint as well. The emotional stuff lives in that blueprint as well. Yeah, it's not just the physical.
So, okay, here's a really interesting one. This is an interesting one. So our world, let's go back 2 years ago, right? Our world back then was that over the last, 10, 20 years, the world, people have moved around the world, right? Chasing careers, doing different jobs. You would have families that hadn't seen each other for, 2, 3, 4 years. Parents in one country, siblings and sisters and brothers are all in different countries, and cousins in different countries and states. And no one is really, it's rare to come across someone who still has all of their family around them, right? It really, it's becoming lesser and lesser and lesser. Now, having that in mind, does that create a problem with connecting with because at the end of the day, everything's about your own story, right? And everything's about the journey. Everything's about everything that's been passed on you. And everything is about the environment that you're brought up in is also. And when you take yourself away from that, and you forget about your grassroots, and you forget about the history of the bloodline of your family and where they've all come from, and if you're away from all of that, and you don't have a deep understanding about the history of you or the history of your family, how does that really affect your inner workings? How does that give you an authentic and vulnerable aspect to really connect to who you are? Does this cause a problem in today's day and age? And is that why we're seeing more mental health issues relative to understanding who we are as a person individually?
That's a great question. No, is the simple answer to that. It doesn't affect us at all. It's not why we're seeing the mental health. The reason we're seeing the mental health is because we are disconnected from ourselves, not from our families. Yeah, we are all on our own journey. We just come through. We come through these people who choose to carry our souls and birth us, and they contribute to our belief systems. But those belief systems are not who we truly are. And that's what this intimacy is about, learning, connecting with the core of who we really are. Yeah, they're just belief systems. They can change at any time. We can make them up at any time. They change according to our experiences. So our belief systems may be different to our parents if we have done all of these things you talk about, because we've had different experiences, right? I've lived in third world countries. That has given me different experiences to someone who hasn't. Yeah, because I've lived around different cultures. I've learned about their belief systems and their religions, and I've seen the poverty, and yeah, but that doesn't make mine any more right. It just makes it different. Does that make sense? None of it is, but that's not who I am. None of it is who we really are. Yeah. So the disconnect from ourselves has us following careers and things that aren't feeding our souls, that aren't making us happy, that are sucking our souls out of us, has us chasing this dream that's not real, this when I get there, when I do this, when I've done that, when I've achieved success or status or whatever it is we're chasing, yeah? And we spend a majority of our life doing this as a people, and being connected to the goal in the future, the dream, rather than being connected to who we really are internally. And that is what's resulting in the mental health. Yeah.
And do you think
People
that
can create their own tribe and support network around them? And with technology, we can still have an incredible communication with our families as well. So that just, you know, there's no excuse for that being disconnected. The disconnect's happening in here.
I 100% agree. Yeah, it certainly is. You know, I speak to people that they can be like success can be a perception in so many different areas, what success is to an individual, right? And having a successful relationship, for instance, might be viewed differently from this person to that person in the relationship. So you've got two people in a relationship, and this person thinks that the relationship is succeeding, and this person thinks that it's struggling because it's not hitting the targets of what they expect out of a relationship. But this person thinks that it is. So how do you bring this together? Because that's an inner workings, right? It's an inner understanding, it's an inner belief system. So how do you marry two people together to understand that they need to come into balance together, to be in harmony together, even if someone is thinking that everything is amazing and the other person thinks there's struggles?
Yeah, so look, I'm going to be clear. I'm not a relationship coach. I work on individuals. I do couples yoga and you know, connection work and stuff with them. But at the end of the day, the only way to do that is to work first on you. It all starts with us. Yeah, it all starts with here. When we realize that most of our expectations come from our ego, and most of them are ideals we've created that aren't necessary for our survival or for us to be loved and nurtured. Yeah. When we realize these things, when we look at our own expectations on this person, you still may determine that this person is no longer right for you. Doesn't mean that this will resolve the issue. However, it changes, it alters your connection with that person. And it means you can, even if you do determine they're not right for you, you can leave them through love. Yeah. It's just, it all starts from within. And once you do that, once you understand yourself on that level, you're able to start understanding other people on that same level. And that is how you then change the relationship with one another. Now, you can't make the other person do the work on themselves and connect with themselves. You can't make that happen, but you can change your relationship with them through doing the work with yourself. Like I say, it doesn't mean it's going to pair you up. Sometimes they're just not right. The other aspect is sometimes we need to move on and evolve in order for our own development and growth. Yeah. Sometimes the reason it's not marrying up anymore is because in staying there, you're going to stagnate. So that, you know, it did once upon a time marry up, let's be honest. So there's many reasons why that happens. But at the end of the day, it changes the way they can communicate with this person. It changes the way they perceive them. It changes their connection with them. It doesn't mean it makes them any more compatible, because this person's ideals still may not have changed. And so whether you can comfortably come into those ideals or not is a whole different story. Yeah, it's an individual choice that has to be made at some point in time.
There's a couple of really interesting things that you brought up. Obviously, beliefs is one. The other one is stagnate. You know, when someone becomes stagnated in their own journey, that in their own relationship, and when you do become stuck, because that's another word for it, you become stuck in your evolution, because living is all about evolution. It's all about learning. It's all about growing. It's all about becoming more than what you are, being part of the bigger picture, because we all want to be part of a community. We're creatures of community, us beautiful human beings. And that's all that we really desire, is being part of a community. And like you said before, even if you're connected online, you're still connecting with people. You're still having these conversations. We're still connecting now and having this beautiful in-depth conversation about humanity and understanding the inner workings of our own selves to become intimate and keep moving and evolving as a beautiful soul. This leads us to one of the problems that came up in your life. And let's talk a little bit about that, because it does have a little bit of a belief system in it, and it does have stagnation in it, which is what had happened to you. So let's get taken on a journey here, Brooke, and just explain the lead up to what it was that was leading to, because you're very connected, you're very knowledgeable, you're very wise, you've traveled all around the world, and someone like you to get the big C, to get cancer, to fall over, lets everyone know that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter about the tools that you have. It doesn't matter how strong you've worked on your own inner design. There can be moments of weakness in anyone. There can be moments of stagnation. There can be moments of a belief system that just switches for a moment. And the true key is really being aware that you're not invincible, and that you do have to be constantly in charge, constantly aware every single day, every step that we take, to be consciously aware of ourselves and the people around us and the energy that we put out into the world. Because just one little thought has an emotional connection to an energetic power that hits someone else. And that's a responsibility, because you're the one that creates that energy. You're the one that creates that thought. You're the one that creates that emotion. When this started unraveling for you, where were you? When did you first start seeing that your health was decreasing, your strength was going, your thoughts had changed? What was that moment like?
It wasn't one particular moment. It was a series of events, and it's only looking back that I can really say that. And you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because I was arrogant enough to just go, oh, I'll never get cancer. You know, I'm too in tune with my body. If I do, I'll know straight away. And now I look back and realize there was very subtle signs and changes a long time before I realized. I do things in big quantum leaps. So, you know, it appeared to come on very rapidly, but looking back, of course it didn't. And of course, the stresses that I was exposed to and not doing the right thing about, you know, have been there for a long time, almost 10 years. You know, there's been ongoing stress of some sort within my life. Yeah, some of which I've invited in, some of which was out of my control, but that I still chose to be a part of, I guess. So for me, it was the realization, my physical body getting sick, and it got incredibly unwell. My physical body getting sick was a barometer to tell me there were imbalances in other areas, in my emotional, my mental, my spiritual well-being. Yeah. So now physically, obviously I had to fix the physical as well. You know, I got to the point where I couldn't keep any food down at all. And I had protein deficiency. I dropped down to 40 kilos. I could barely walk. You know, I was very unwell. And so obviously, and by then the cancer had taken hold. So yes, you have to deal with that and fix that. But I also understood that this is just the barometer telling me that I have to fix things in other areas as well. I have to fix things in the mental, emotional, and spiritual department as well. Yeah. So it wasn't, like I said, there wasn't just an aha moment. There were lots of little things that added up to that final Yeah. Okay. Something's really serious here. You need to go and determine what this is. Yeah.
And tell me about that little moment. There must have been a moment where you went, something's really serious. Something
Do you
serious.
know, my 8-year-old daughter was actually the one who created that moment. Because it's funny how blind we can be to ourselves, even when we're connected with ourselves. Yeah. So busy helping everyone else. And she was the one who said to me one morning, Mummy, you've lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? And I jumped on the scales. And when I realized how much weight I had lost, I went, oh, no, I'm definitely not okay. And that was when the choice to keep ignoring it, blanking it, pretending I wasn't really sick. Then I look back at all the other things, I was having problems with my memory and organization and all sorts of things. And I look back at all of that and I realized for a long time I knew I wasn't well, but I kept making excuses. Oh, it's coming into wet season, it's the humidity. Oh, it's the Burma forest virus coming back, which is a mosquito-borne illness that can recur. Oh, it's menopause. There were all these excuses because I didn't want to accept that I was sick. Yeah. So that was the moment when I realized, okay, you have to accept that you're actually unwell, that you have a problem, and that it probably is cancer. Yeah. It wasn't a while later that I decided how I was going to tackle this. Yeah. So through my own belief system, I've always said I'll never have chemotherapy, never go down the Western medicine path at all in any way, shape, or form. But until you're there, you really don't know. Yeah. And even from a natural perspective, there's different ways we can approach it. You can still, there's natural ways, like, for example, most people are familiar with the apricot kernel seeds being used for, right? Well, that's their natural chemotherapy. Yeah. You can still go in and poison it. Or you can choose the positive approach of strengthening your body. Now, that's what I tried. I looked at it, went, right, we're creative beings. We are designed to create, not to destroy. Yeah. So I totally believe along that line of thinking, I totally believe the body can heal itself from anything if it's given the right tools and put in the right environment. So what is the environment it needs? And what is the environment in which cancer does not thrive? And I worked along those lines. So I actually built up my body's capacity to heal itself rather than, that was my focus, rather than focusing on killing cancer. I focused on the creative rather than the destructive.
That's amazing. I saw you at one point, you were already starting to heal, but the weight loss itself was, you're a petite lady anyway. You're light and bouncy, and when I saw you and held you and hugged you, you were really light. You were still under that strain. And just to give people just an idea of what your normal weight is. What is your normal weight? What's your average weight?
So I normally sit around 50 to 52 kilos.
Okay, and you dropped
down to 40. I was just skin and bone. I was just literally skin and bone. I actually ended up with the grey pallor that people get before they die. I couldn't keep anything done. I lost all of my muscle. My body ate my muscle to survive. So then I ended up with kwashiorkor, which is a protein deficiency. So the big belly and my legs were like plasticine. If you went squeezed them like that, they'd stay like that. It was the weirdest feeling. But yeah, so there were all sorts of other complications as a result as well. But yeah, so it was interesting. I was like 40 kilos skin and bone, but I had a big belly and big elephant legs because all the fluid from protein deficiency. It was weird.
Wow. It's extraordinary. And and just so people can get their heads around the time of this. Phone call. Why does it do that? Why do you I turned all notifications off, everything. I put it on silent and it still comes again. You still get a call coming though. I don't get it. Anyway, so just so everyone can understand, quantify the time, can you give us a time frame? Like when was the downhill road? when did you hit the bottom, and how long has it taken you to get where you are now?
Can I be honest? From when I acknowledged and had it diagnosed to, or even from when I acknowledged to when I had it diagnosed was maybe 2 weeks. And in that time, I went downhill rapidly, really rapidly. And I'd had to stop working in that time, and I was pretty much spending my whole time in bed. Had people
How
had
long
moved
ago?
in after
Sorry.
me.
How
So
long ago
that
was that?
was just before Christmas.
Just before
So
Christmas.
3.5 months ago.
Okay.
From that time of diagnosis to healing, or to, let's say, to being cancer-free, there's still healing to be done. There's still inflammation and damage to repair, but we're getting there, and you know, I'm able to eat real food again and what have you. But the majority of the work has been done within that time period. Yeah, so it was a very short time period. I mean, I put a lot of focus into it, and I did a lot of different treatments, but I did it, well, I did it by strengthening the body, by doing the positive approach. And so now we're just working on reducing the inflammation, continuing to repair my blood cells, because my blood cells were really damaged as well and unable to oxygenate the tissues. So yeah, just doing the final touches, I suppose you could say. But as you can see, I'm filled with life and vitality and energy now. I've gained back a lot of the weight, and I've started working out in order to gain back muscle now as well.
That is just phenomenal, Brooke. It really is. I just really want to underline the power of what the body can actually achieve in a small space of time. And we're talking, what, 3.5 months this roller coaster has been going on. And your energy right now, your vitality right now, you know, it's shining through the screen. You can see the love, you can see the light, you can see the life that's emanating from your soul. And that's after going through such an intense physical journey that basically raped every ounce of life from you, and having your 8-year-old daughter specify to you that, Mum, you've looked like you've lost a lot of weight. And that realization of going, there's seriously something going wrong here. And then the ability to reach deep down inside, to really get intimate, because, I mean, let's be real, to be faced in this type of predicament, most people would go to the doctor, most people would get chemo, most people would be following the guidelines of other people telling them what they needed to do about themselves. But you've gone internal. You knew a lot of the tools that you had inside you already, and you've gone, I mean, this is another level of deep inner intimacy with yourself, right?
Right. That's what I was just about to stop you there and say, can I make, because a lot of people will say to me, oh, but you know, because I'm a naturopath, they go, oh yeah, but you already knew what to do. Firstly, I don't believe in self-diagnosis, and I don't believe in self-treatment. So I actually saw 2 other naturopaths, one who was a GP as well, an Ayurvedic practitioner, and a few other practitioners as well, right? TCM, what have you. So I didn't do this on my own with my own knowledge. But more importantly, it wasn't about, you know, if you're still allowing fear, and I heard this thing that fear stands for fake evidence appearing real, because we give it the energy to make it real, right? We acknowledge it as being real. If we allow fear to take hold, for starters, that's going to hold you back. Yeah, it's going to slow down any capacity for your body to heal itself. It needs high vibration to heal. It needs clear, pure energy. So anything like that, if there's fear of death or thinking we have to fight something rather than surrendering to it, and all of these things that can hold it back. So it's this having this intimate connection with self that allowed me, firstly, to be clear on how I was going to approach this, that destruction was not the way, that we are designed for creation, and that's the way I've got to go. And secondly, having the confidence to reach out to others for help, but most importantly, being connected with myself, being able to know, just feel what was right, what wasn't. And that only comes from being empowered by my own connection. It's not through my knowledge that I had. Anyone can do this. Anyone can go out there and find themselves the therapists they need. And I mean, I went out there and I just kept doing other things, and every single thing contributed, I believe. Yeah. But there were some factors that were my non-negotiables, because they were massively contributing. But every kind of treatment that I tried and every therapist I approached and everything that I did, I believe contributed, but only because I had a positive approach and a positive viewpoint on it and a positive connection with myself.
So this is fundamental, and people are just understanding how powerful you as a human being really are. How powerful that, yes, you need to get other people to come in and help you along that healing journey. But that's when we do need to set our pride to the side, because pride and ego will damage us in the long term, because we're standing up for something that isn't real, right? So pride and ego isn't real. It's just a figment of our own imagination that puts it in place of what it is, but it's not real. And when we allow ourselves to really let go of that and know that there are people out there that can actually teach us certain things, certain behaviors about our own inner self, because this is about the inner journey. From what I understand, Brooke, it's all about the inner journey and the inner ability to get deeper and deeper and deeper into the own understanding of yourself, of really allowing yourself to let go of all the egotistical stuff, all the pride stuff, all the things that you think are powerful but aren't really powerful, because they don't allow you to heal. And when you get to the essence of actually really allowing yourself the power to heal your own self, the power to connect to your own self, the power to connect to the universe or to God or whatever it is in that belief mechanism that you have, you know that you can heal. You know you can get deep inside yourself and not just heal you. So I want to make this really clear too, Brooke. It's not just about healing you either, but it's also about healing the relationships around you.
Yes.
Because one of the biggest aspects that we forget about, you know, whether you're in anxiety or depression, the biggest thing that we forget about is our relationship with ourselves is also the relationship that we have with others. And when we're having deep relationships with others, we're having deep relationships with ourselves. And that was probably the biggest journey for me throughout this whole thing, was the understanding that I needed to heal, cleanse, work on all relationships around me. And I was given the most amazing opportunity to do this by being unwell. Yeah, it's quite phenomenal. So, yeah, beautiful point. Brooke, it's amazing. We have the power. It is. It's. Look, you're a beautiful soul. You're a beautiful woman. You have led an example of what is possible. This is something that I really want people to understand. The possibility is so real, but you have to sit in the power of your own self and in the belief mechanisms that it is real, that it does exist, that everything is energy, and that in that energy, you can create whatever it is that you choose to create. You can heal whatever it is that you choose to heal, and you can be a light amongst your family, amongst yourself, to stand forward in the essence of what you truly desire for this world. Remember where we are in this world right now. We get to choose the type of world we want to live in, but it takes a belief system in your own self and the depth of intimacy in your own self for it to get there.
It's really important not to stay stuck in your mind. And I hear so often, but I do believe I can do this. I've been trying, and I believe, go deeper than the thoughts, deeper than the ego. Yeah. There's more there. Why are you stuck? Why is it not working? Yeah. How do I make it work? It's discovery. It's self-discovery. I can't tell you how to do it because we're all on our own journey, and what is creating that stick for one person may be different for the next. But I can tell you that I've done it. I'm sure this is only the start of my journey. My ego will tell you I've done it, I'm a success, yeah, it's over. But this is only the beginning of the next phase, wherever that's going to take me. But the cancer was just a barometer to push me through that next phase of discovery.
Well, Brooke, it's been an amazing conversation. What an extreme, beautiful journey you've had in life so far. And look, let everyone know if someone wants to get in touch with you, if they want to have a conversation about your experience, or if they'd like to get more in touch with their own selves, or they're looking for more female empowerment, or they'd like to book you somewhere to give a guest speaking presentation. How can people get in touch with you? Where are you located? And please share it with the world.
Well, I'm located in far north Queensland, but obviously that means nothing because here we are accessing the whole world. Technology is amazing. So I am, you can find me on Facebook, Brooke Tera-Sundri, Tera-Sundri, Brooke Tera-Sundri, or you can email me at thekundaliniwoman@gmail.com.
Brilliant. Brooke, thank you. I truly am empowered just listening to your story, listening to your journey. And I hope that this segment allows people to really understand that there is always a choice, that we always have a choice, that even when we are at the darkest stages of our life, that we always have an ability to choose something that can move us forward. So I really want to thank you for displaying that for other people to know that there is always the ability to move through something, no matter how on the last legs of life you are. Thank you, Brooke. I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Take care. This is Inspire Millions. Please subscribe, like the video. We'll all see you soon again next week. Bye.